Hello and welcome to our language analysis case study. This study was done by Amanda, Agnes, and Caitlin. Our student is 14 years old. He is in the 10th grade. His place of birth is Saharla, India. His native language is Punjabi. He came to America when he was 13 years old in August 2016. He was enrolled in U.S. school systems on September 6, 2016.
After conducting an interview with our student, Caitlin, Agnes, and I analyzed his oral skills based on the following elements: comprehension, fluency, vocabulary, and pronunciation. While talking to our student, I noticed that he is stronger in certain aspects than in others. For example, his pronunciation and comprehension seem to be more developed than his vocabulary. Occasionally, I noticed that the student paused mid-speech in order to collect his thoughts, but for the most part, his ideas flowed nicely throughout his speech. We will explore this further and listen to some oral samples on the following slide. During my interview with our student, we focused on an array of topics. For the purpose of time, I selected 3 clips from our interview that I feel best depicts his oral language abilities. In the first clip, our student discusses his favorite Indian holiday and his favorite American holiday. Let's take a listen.
What is your favorite Indian holiday?
Diwali.
Diwali. I remember we celebrated that in October, right? Can you tell me a little bit about Diwali?
In India, we celebrate like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We make the food and I eat it, and we have fire, and then we do that in the nighttime.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And you have the fireworks, right? Very nice. Have you celebrated any American holidays yet?
I did.
Which ones?
Halloween.
Halloween. Is that your favorite?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Did you dress up for Halloween?
Yeah, I did.
What were you?
I was the police officer.
A police officer. Very nice.
During this clip, the student demonstrates an understanding of the topic at hand. The student is able to respond using appropriate vocabulary, and with the help of follow-up questions, he is able to elaborate and provide more details. His speech seems to be fluent throughout, and there were minimal pauses during the conversation. In the second clip, the student discusses what life is like in India and how it differs here in the United States.
Were you born in the United States or were you born in India?
I was born in India.
In India.
Yeah.
So, why did you move here?
Because of my uncle, he liked the country.
Mm-hmm.
In India, I don't get that much development, that much America get it.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Very nice. And how do you feel about moving to the United States? Do you like it?
Yeah, it's like amazing, like a lot different in life.
How is it different?
Study, school,
Mm-hmm.
and house.
Very nice. Were you born in the United States or were you born in...
In this piece of the conversation, I noticed that the student's vocabulary seems to be very basic. For example, he tries to explain that India is underdeveloped by stating, "In India, I don't get that much development." Through the sentence, he is implying that there are more opportunities here in the United States than there are in India. When asked if he enjoys living in the United States, the student uses words such as amazing and different to describe their new lifestyle. When asked to explain how it is different, the student shows that their vocabulary is limited by listing one-word differences rather than explaining these differences in more detail or with examples. In the final clip, the student is asked about the differences between school in India and school in the United States.
Think about school in your home country in India. Is it different than here in New Jersey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a lot different. Decks are different, classes are different. In my country, like teacher have to move, student have to sit in one place in class.
Oh, so the students stay in one room and the teacher moves?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And did you like your school in India?
I don't like that much. I like here.
You like it here better?
Yeah.
How come? Or why do you like it here better?
Cause that's why I like it. Cause I'm moving.
Mhm.
I don't feel boring.
Okay.
That's why.
So you get a chance to get up and move around, stretch your feet out, your legs out. Okay.
When interviewing the student, I subconsciously used a slang word or phrase known as how come, while attempting to ask why. The student was hesitant and paused, indicating that he needed clarification. But when I did rephrase my question, he understood and was able to proceed with the interview. This shows that he needs prompting when it comes to different forms of the language or different aspects. But through this interview, we were able to learn more about the student's language abilities, um, and as well as his personal interest or personal likes.
Our student's written language sample. Our student was asked to write a letter to the principal explaining his thoughts about the school. Did he like or dislike the school? What did he like or dislike about it? He was also asked to compare his school in the US to school in his home country. The rubric we used to analyze this written sample is going to be on the following slide. So, one thing we realized was that our student seemed to fall off topic when he began speaking about his country's homeless issue. He started by talking about school in the US, but ends up writing about the large amount of homeless people in his country and his experience with a homeless person. He was able to separate his writing into paragraphs that stuck to a familiar topic, but his paragraphs didn't contain much fluency. The major issue seemed to be his vocabulary and his grammar. He did use some vocabulary words in the correct context. He used words like fortunate, opportunity, education, and technology express his educational experiences. Another thing was his incorrect use of prepositions or completely leaving them out. In the first paragraph, he says, I saw in few school principal don't care about ESL. He do care about ESL student. The correct way would be to say, I saw in a few schools the principal does not care about ESL, but he does care about ESL students. He also does not use proper word tense. So he wrote things like school instead of schools when it was supposed to be plural, do instead of does, student instead of students, and then help instead of helped. So that would be an example of past tense or present tense. Okay, so now we're going to look at the rubric we created. So when our student first began his schooling in the U.S., he was considered a level 1 entering proficiency. He has not been reevaluated since then, and compared to the rubric we created, I believe that the written language sample falls more into the level 2 emerging proficiency level when it comes to the things like content and idea, vocabulary, and structure and organization.
A theory by Vygotsky says Vygotsky is most recognized for his concept of zone of proximal development, or ZPD, pertaining to the learning of children. Children who are in the zone of proximal development for a specific task can almost perform the task independently, but not quite there yet. However, with an appropriate amount of assistance, these children can accomplish the task successfully. Now, in this slide, you will also see both oral and written language recommendations. Here, we explain how we would help our student to understand when to use plurals, past, and present tense. With these lessons, and as Vygotsky says, the appropriate amount of assistance, our student will be able to accomplish the task successfully When writing or using orally, plurals past and present tense. When teaching students past, present, or plural and how to use it when speaking or writing, we must understand that we should give a clear explanation of English grammar rules. And we can show students this in articles, spelling, sentences, patterns, and parts of speech. This way, the student can apply those rules correctly both orally and in writing. As teachers, we should also enable them to use their creativity to develop teaching materials. This will work as a way, or actually a strategy, for learning English to solve the students' problems so that the students will better understand the kinds of tenses. Students should do more writing exercises and should be encouraged, when doing so, to use the correct grammar. Many times, students struggle when beginning to learn a second language. When learning English, students may get confused when writing or speaking. The students make so many different kinds of errors because they were transferring the grammar rules of their mother language, actually the mother tongue, to the English language. Although in the beginning it may be difficult, with practice, both home and during school, the students will become much more familiar with the English language and how or when to use plural, present, and past tense orally and with writing as well.